So you're buying a house. I want to talk about the most exciting part, paperwork and contracts. If you're buying a house in Pennsylvania, there's a bunch of paperwork that you're going to have to do with your realtor to make sure that your offer is submitted properly. I'm going to talk about some of those main documents with you now. So let's get into it. First thing you need to understand is the consumer notice. This is just a notice. It's not a contract. And what that does is explain the duties and responsibilities of your realtor as your buyer's agent. It's possible that they could be a dual agent, a seller's agent, all these other agencies. So that's all in the notice. But again, it's not a contract. So that's number one, consumer notice. The next thing is the buyer's agency contract. So that is the contract where you are hiring the realtor to represent you. So that's the contract between you and the realtor to represent you in the transaction. And the realtor is going to lay out their fees and the commission percentages and all that stuff. It is important to note that a lot of the time, the seller is going to pay a large majority of the buyer side commission. Anyway, talk with your realtor about that and make sure you understand that. Number 3 is the actual agreement of sale. So we call that the standard agreement of sale. This is I always tell people, I'm not an attorney. I just am a contract color by numbers kind of guy. I fill in the spaces in the contracts that the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors has made for us. So we go in, we're putting in the purchase price, the close date, the acceptance date, your contingencies, all the things in the contract. Now, it's important to understand that this contract is just between the buyer and the seller. The realtors are not actually a party to that contract. They will help prepare that contract for you. They'll facilitate that, but that's the real contract between you and the seller. The other thing you're going to sign is the seller's property disclosure. And if the house was built before 1978, you're going to sign the lead paint disclosure. And the seller's property disclosure is important to read carefully because it tells you how old the roof is, if they know, how old the hot water heater is, all the different items in the house, if they have any issues, leaks, termites, all that stuff. You want to make sure you carefully review the seller's property disclosure, and you're going to initial off on every page of that and send that in. And you're acknowledging to the seller that you've read it and understand what's wrong with the property, if anything is broken, and what type of heater you got and all that kind of stuff. Lastly, one of the most important things is having a proof of funds when you submit an offer. So if you're getting a mortgage, you're usually going to have a pre-approval letter from a mortgage company that says, hey, John has been approved for this mortgage and I have looked at his financials and said he's good. Now, there's also a form in Pennsylvania called the Buyer's Financial Information Form. And what this does is it lays out all the buyer's financials, like how much they have in assets, do they own a house, are they been bankrupt, are they paying alimony? So all these things basically laying out the buyer's financial situation. One of the main things they're looking for is, do they have the income to afford the mortgage? And also, do they have the cash to have the funds to close, down payment and closing costs? So they're looking at those two things. Now, if you're a cash buyer, you may be just showing a bank statement or something along those lines. If you're an investor, you might have a hard money loan, but nobody is going to take an offer seriously if they don't see proof of funds. There can be some other documents in there, different disclosures around mortgage and title and different things like that. So always talk with your realtor, but those are the main documents that you need to be concerned with when you're buying a house in Pennsylvania. I'm Rob Lawrence with VRA Realty. I'm based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. If you're looking to buy a home in the Philadelphia suburbs, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.